This right here, look at it. It's going to come up on your screen. The scene outside of an ICE facility where about 12 miles from downtown Chicago, all of this was happening. Protesters clashed with local law enforcement. It happened after a federal judge ordered ICE to remove a fence that had been put up around that facility following repeated altercations between federal agents and demonstrators. Meanwhile, the president's push to deploy more National Guard troops to Chicago has been pushed back again. Yesterday, a panel of federal judges rejected the government's claim that ongoing protests pose a threat so serious they warrant immediate federal intervention, writing political opposition is not rebellion. Joining us now, retired four-star general and MSNBC military analyst Barry McCaffrey and executive editor of The Nation, John Nichols. All right, so Barry, we've seen these clashes in front of the ICE facilities and on certain streets as people were taken into custody.
American protesters delivers a message as they clash with law enforcement outside ICE facility. Check it out.
They have been distinct clashes, limited to certain areas. Still, the president of the United States is using them to try to justify the need for the National Guard. Tomorrow, we could see 6 million people on the streets of this country for No King's Day. What would your advice be to people who are going out and marching?
Make sure you take part in the protest. I think we're in a position right now in which President Trump is acting in a manner that is wholly illegal. Some of these propositions he can claim powers under the Emergency Powers Act of 1976, under the Insurrection Act. There is no obvious rebellion going on. We're putting the National Guard, 430,000 of them, who are vital to American national interests. We're changing them from a force for humanitarian disasters and war fighting into an attempt to use them as domestic police force, for which they're ill-equipped, ill-trained, and in opposition to American values.
This is how liberty fades away, not with machine guns, but with slow normalization of abuse. They don't need martial law if fear does its job. They're turning soldiers into cops and citizens into suspects, and the public too distracted to care.
So we're in a very dangerous crossroads in America.
I had a former colonel on at the top of this show, somebody who resigned. I'm not sure if you caught him, but he was saying that it puts soldiers from the National Guard, from the military, in such a hard position to have the president of the United States ordering one thing and then the courts saying, no, it's not justified. And he's worried about cohesion. Does that concern you, too?
Yeah, there's no question. When you look at the 50 states adjutant generals, two-star generals or Air Force flag officers, they're commanding a force that's fully equipped and trained by the federal government. But they're under the governor's control, non-Title X activity for the majority of their career. By the way, they've only got 2 weeks of active duty in general and 1 weekend a month. And so time to the National Guard is precious. They have to prepare for their warfighting mission as well as whatever the governor asks them to do. And by the way, under the governor's control, they do have law enforcement authorities as dictated by state law. So, at this point, when you nationalize the Oregon National Guard or Illinois National Guard, they're now federal troops under posse comitatus. They should not take part in law enforcement operation. They shouldn't arrest U.S. citizens. They shouldn't collect evidence. They are not equipped to do community policing. And it's terrible optics for the U.S. Armed Forces.
And the reason I guess we put these two stories together, the story of what we're seeing on the streets and the troop deployments and the federal courts pushing back and the clashes, is that there's a lot of rhetoric around what's going to happen tomorrow for No Kings. John, I know you're going to be at the Wisconsin protests, and there's a lot of concern about how the administration might react to it. We've seen a lot of Republicans calling this the Hate America March. And there are people, I've seen group chats where folks are wondering, is it safe to bring my kids to this? I want to go out. I want my voice to be heard. I'd like to push back on what I'm seeing in this administration. I want them to know I'm not okay with it. But am I going to be safe doing it?
The Americans are a courageous people. And I think they're especially courageous when you have opportunities to use the rights that were outlined in our First Amendment, the right to speak freely, the right to enjoy a free press, the right to assemble.
That is the point. Americans aren't rioting, they're reacting. When the system ignores your voice, the street becomes your microphone. And while politicians call it rebellion, it is actually democracy in motion, messy, loud, but it feels real. It is real.
And the right to petition for the redress of grievances. Before I came on today, I made a round of calls and I talked to people who are organizing at demonstrations, mostly in small towns, towns of 4,000 or 5,000 people across Wisconsin and other places around the country. And what I can tell you is that, as Speaker Mike Johnson and others have said absurd things about these marches, they have had more signups, more people who are enthusiastic to come. And I've been to several of these No Kings demonstrations in the past. And what I can tell you is they are good-spirited, a lot of very patriotic, very creative people. There are sign-making parties all over America tonight where people are trying to come up with the funniest sign or the most creative sign, or frankly, the most concerned and most unsettled sign. I mean, they want to deliver their message, but I really do think this is an example of one of the deep disconnects between the kind of rhetoric of Republicans in Washington and the sentiment of people out around the country. The fact of the matter is, if people are comfortable marching down the main drag in Dodgeville, Wisconsin, or Monroe, Wisconsin, or so many other places across this country, and even some of the smallest crossroads around the country, what you're really hearing is that Americans want to deliver a message to their president and to the Congress. And it is a message to say, stop. Stop assaulting the basic liberties, the basic rights that we were taught as children to value and to embrace.
This line slaps harder than anything McCaffrey just said. Stop assaulting basic liberties. Because that is exactly what is happening. The government calls protesters threats, while the media call them radicals. And the cycle of fear keeps spinning. This isn't about keeping order. It is about keeping control.
And so I do think people are going to show up tomorrow. I think the demonstrations are going to be huge. I don't know if they will be, as the organizers suggest, the largest in the history of the country. We'll see. But there is, I think, a great likelihood that you're going to see millions and millions of people out in every corner of this country.
Oh, look at your cat. Hey, cat.
My cat is ready to go.
She's waiting for her 15 minutes of fame.
Yes.
All right, gentlemen, really good to have you. John, nice haircut. I like it short. Looks great.
Thank you.
Ready for service?
I got it for the march. There you go. I also wanted to look like a good commander here.
All right. Well, General McCaffrey, really good to have you. John Nichols. This conversation reminded me of a piece I read from David Brooks in The Atlantic today, talking about what makes a social movement succeed. There's got to be villains. There's certainly a villain in this social movement. This showing Donald Trump that he can't be a king. But who's the hero of the movement?
Here is the truth. The heroes aren't on the TV. They are on the ground. Ordinary people standing between unchecked power and the idea of freedom. Because when the government builds fences around its people, it is not protecting democracy. It is hiding from it. And the bottom line is that this isn't about protest or fences. It is about control. When your government fears your voice more than foreign enemies, that is not security. That is tyranny, dressed in bureaucracy. And the moment that the citizens behind that fence stop being heard, democracy don't just weaken, it disappears. Let me know your thoughts on the story in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, always keep thinking.
Who's the leader What's the action after this?